Hello, esteemed gentlemen. Never trust a love that asks you to shrink. Real love is the only thing that lets you stay your full size. Most men fall into relationships that feel like a warm hug at first, until they realize that hug is also a chokehold. In fact, research shows the average man spends nearly 2 years of his life chasing or staying in relationships that quietly sabotage his ambitions. They call it partnership. But for Sigma males, that's a hostile takeover. See, a Sigma male doesn't just want affection, he wants alignment. He'd rather spend 10 straight winters eating noodles alone than spend one season with someone who drags him off his path. His mission isn't a hobby, it's the reason he wakes up breathing. And that's why, when real love comes for him, it doesn't come wearing perfume and poetry. It comes with grit, vision, and the uncanny ability to fit seamlessly into the architecture of his purpose. And here's the twist most people won't tell you. The right love for a Sigma male doesn't compete with his mission, it accelerates it. It's not about her supporting him like some cheerleader in the stands. It's about her being part of the actual game plan. She doesn't wave pom-poms, she hands you the next piece of the strategy. So, today, we're not talking about romance in the way the world sells it. We're talking about the rare, almost mythic connection where the woman doesn't just love you. She loves the mission you. And she's just as invested in seeing it completed as you are. And if you're a Sigma male, there's a reason that when this kind of love finally finds you, it feels less like dating and more like destiny walking into the room with steel in her eyes. Number 1. She will see the man and the mission as one. When a Sigma male finally meets the right woman, she doesn't try to separate the man from the mission, because she understands they are the same thing. She sees that his goals, his principles, his late nights, his strategic thinking, they're not just what he does, they are who he is. For most people, love means peeling back layers to get to the real person underneath their work, their ambitions, their public image. But for a Sigma male, those layers aren't hiding anything. They are the real him. This is where most relationships fail for men like him. Partners often want them to relax the mission, put it on pause, or find balance. But to him, that's like asking him to stop breathing for a while. The right woman doesn't make that mistake. She gets that the mission isn't an optional chapter in his life story. It's the spine holding the whole book together. Without it, he wouldn't be the man she fell for in the first place. That's why she doesn't demand he choose between love and purpose. She knows the relationship works best when the two are moving in the same direction. She doesn't just tolerate his drive, she respects it, feeds it, and sometimes challenges it in a way that makes it sharper. She doesn't try to tame him because she understands that his edge is part of what makes him powerful, and power in his case doesn't mean control over others, it means control over himself. This kind of connection is rare because it requires her to have her own sense of purpose too. If she was aimless, she'd eventually resent his focus. But she has her own direction, her own reasons to wake up early and keep pushing. That's why they can be together without either person feeling like they're losing themselves. For a Sigma male, this is what makes love not just worth having, but worth protecting. She's not a break from his mission. She's part of its success. And when she looks at him, she doesn't just see the man she loves. She sees the mission he was born to fulfill, and she's ready to walk through it with him, step for step. Number 2, she will inspire strategy, not distraction. When the right woman enters a Sigma male's life, she doesn't pull his attention into pointless detour. She sharpens it. Her presence doesn't make him scatter his focus or waste hours in endless emotional tug-of-wars. Instead, she operates like an extra sense, quietly feeding him insights, observations, and perspectives that make his thinking more precise. She understands that for him, clarity is power, and she refuses to cloud that with unnecessary noise. It's not that she never challenges him, she does, but always in ways that push the plan forward. If an idea is weak, she'll call it out. If he's missing a piece of the puzzle, she'll find it. She won't sugarcoat reality to keep him comfortable, because comfort is rarely where great strategies are born. She respects the fact that his mission is not a casual interest. It's the core of his identity, and she treats it with the same seriousness he does. Most people in relationships create distraction without even realizing it. They want constant updates, reassurance, or attention at the worst possible moments, right in the middle of a breakthrough. This woman isn't like that. She knows when to step in with energy and when to step back so the plan can breathe. That timing is everything, and it's what makes her role in his life so valuable. Her influence can even shift the way he plays the game. She might introduce ideas he'd never considered, or help him anticipate moves from competitors or adversaries. She doesn't get in the way of his independence, but she's not just standing on the sidelines either. She's tuned into the mission like a co-strategist, and when she speaks, it's because she's thought it through, not because she needs to fill the silence. The real beauty here is that she doesn't have to force him to make better moves. He naturally starts making them just by having her in his orbit. She fuels his ambition without ever hijacking it, making the road ahead clearer, stronger, and far more dangerous to anyone standing in his way. That's not love as distraction. That's love as a weapon. Number 3, she'll let you lead without trying to control the map. For a Sigma male, leadership isn't about dominance. It's about direction. He chooses his path with precision, and the last thing he needs is someone constantly second-guessing every step. The right woman understands this. She trusts his instincts enough to let him lead without trying to snatch the steering wheel at every turn. She's not threatened by his vision, because she knows leadership, when it's healthy, isn't about one person having all the power. It's about two people moving with the same purpose. But here's what makes her different from most. When he does hand her the map, she doesn't freeze or get lost in indecision. She knows exactly where to take it because she's been paying attention all along. She understands the mission, the obstacles, the timing, and the stakes. She doesn't just wait to be told what to do. She's been quietly calculating her moves, so when the moment comes, she's ready to act without hesitation. This balance is rare. Most relationships get stuck in a power tug-of-war. Either the man feels undermined or the woman feels sidelined. But in this connection, there's no battle for control, because both people know when to lead and when to follow. She doesn't try to rewrite his plans to suit her ego, and he doesn't treat her as if she can't handle responsibility. The trust is mutual, and that's what makes the whole thing unshakable. When she takes the map, she might even improve the route, not by force, but by understanding the terrain in ways he couldn't see from his vantage point. She's not trying to outshine him, but her insight adds depth to the plan. And because she's just as invested in the mission as he is, every move she makes is aimed at getting them both to the destination faster, stronger, and with fewer wasted steps. For a Sigma male, this is priceless. A partner who can follow without being passive, lead without being controlling, and share the map without turning the journey into a power struggle. It's not just compatibility, it's tactical harmony. Number 4, she'll match your energy without mimicking you. When the right woman comes into a Sigma male's life, she doesn't try to become a carbon copy of who he is. She's not interested in mirroring his style, copying his routines, or parroting his opinions just to fit in. She has her own rhythm, her own style of movement, and her own reasons for waking up in the morning. But somehow, that rhythm blends with his in a way that feels effortless. She's not a shadow following his every step. She's a force moving alongside him, keeping pace without needing to compete. This balance matters because Sigma males see straight through imitation. If someone is trying too hard to match them, it reads as insecurity or a lack of originality. The right woman doesn't need to fake alignment. Her energy naturally complements his. If he's intense, she knows when to bring a calm steadiness. If he's in a calculated, strategic mode, she might add sparks of creativity that push him to think beyond his usual patterns. She doesn't try to be him. She focuses on being her, and that's what makes her presence so magnetic. This creates a dynamic where there's no power drain. She's not pulling him off course to keep up with her pace, and she's not slowing herself down to match his stride. They move in a kind of unspoken sync. Different styles, same direction. And because she's not copying him, there's always something fresh between them. New perspectives, new approaches, and a constant exchange of strengths keep the connection alive and evolving. For a Sigma male, this is vital. He doesn't want a sidekick. He wants a partner who can hold her own while walking beside him. A woman who matches his energy without mimicking him brings balance to his life without making it predictable. She's proof that two different energies can work together without one having to erase itself. And in that harmony, they both become stronger, not because they're identical, but because they're distinct and aligned at the same time. Number 5. She won't be a trophy. She'll be a weapon. For a Sigma male, the idea of a trophy partner is pointless. He's not chasing someone to show off, parade around, or use as proof of his value. The right woman in his life isn't there to sit quietly in the background looking pretty. She's there to sharpen him. Her value isn't in being admired from a distance. It's in the impact she has up close. She challenges his thinking, questions his blind spots, and adds layers to his strategy that he couldn't build alone. A trophy is passive. It just sits there, shining until the polish fades. But a weapon changes the outcome of battles. She's not ornamental, she's functional, powerful, and dangerous in the right way. She knows when to be silent so he can focus, and she knows when to strike with an idea or observation that shifts the whole game. Her intelligence, insight, and instincts aren't there to make her look good. They're there to make them unstoppable. This is exactly why their connection doesn't fit the "look what I have" mold that so many relationships fall into. A Sigma male doesn't need validation through a partner's appearance or social status. He measures her worth in how much sharper, faster, and more resilient he becomes because she's in his life. And she measures herself the same way, by the impact she makes, not the applause she gets. There's also no fear of her being overshadowed. She doesn't need to fight for attention because she knows her influence runs deeper than the surface. She's not there to simply be seen. She's there to change the odds in his favor. That's a level of value that can't be displayed in a photo or summed up in a compliment. For a Sigma male, being with a weapon instead of a trophy means every day is an upgrade to his arsenal. She's not just part of the picture. She's part of the reason he wins. And the best part? She's just as capable of fighting her own battles as she is of standing beside him in his. That's not decoration. That's dominance in disguise. Number 6. She'll never ask you to prove your love with public displays. For the right woman in a Sigma male's life, love isn't a performance. She doesn't need him to parade their relationship in front of the world to feel secure. Her sense of connection doesn't come from staged photos, hashtags, or orchestrated look-at-us moments. Instead, she measures love in loyalty and how consistently he shows up for her, even when no one's watching. And in alignment, meaning their goals, values, and daily actions are moving in the same direction. This is a huge difference from the kind of partners who constantly need validation through public approval. A Sigma male isn't built for that. He's not going to rearrange his priorities just to create picture-perfect moments for strangers online. The woman who truly fits him understands this because she doesn't need external applause to feel cherished. She values the private gestures, the quiet support, the subtle protection, the unspoken trust, over any grand spectacle designed to impress outsiders. She knows that public displays can be empty if the private foundation is weak. Anyone can buy flowers, post selfies, or make loud declarations. But not everyone can keep promises when life gets hard, or stand firm when the mission demands sacrifice. Her focus is on the substance, not the optics. She'd rather have a partner who remembers the details that matter to her than one who posts about her on social media for likes. This doesn't mean she avoids joy or shared celebration. It means she doesn't equate visibility with love. If he chooses to share something publicly, it's because it's genuine, not because she's pressured him into it. And that authenticity is what makes those rare public moments so much more meaningful when they do happen. For a Sigma male, this is liberating. It means he can give love in the way he's wired to give it, through loyalty, protection, and shared direction, without constantly being pushed into performative gestures. And for her, it means the love she receives is pure, not packaged for an audience. That's not just romance. That's trust in its highest form. Number 7. She understands the cost of your focus. The right woman for a Sigma male understands something most people never fully grasp. His focus is not just a habit, it's his most valuable resource. Every hour of clarity, every block of mental energy is invested in building, creating, or moving closer to his mission. She knows that once that focus is scattered, it's not easily regained, and that wasting it on petty arguments, unnecessary drama, or emotional games is like burning through a fortune for nothing in return. This doesn't mean she suppresses her own needs or avoids real conversations. It means she chooses her timing and her words with intention. If something needs to be discussed, she brings it up in a way that adds resolution instead of chaos. She doesn't stir conflict just to feel alive, because she's already alive in her own mission. She doesn't need turbulence to keep the relationship interesting. For her, respect for his focus is a form of love. She understands that his mind is the control center for everything he is and everything he's building. Protecting that space isn't about avoiding challenges. It's about making sure the challenges they face are worth the energy they'll spend on them. She filters out the noise before it even reaches him, not because she's submissive, but because she's strategic. This is where she stands apart from those who unknowingly drain him. She doesn't confuse attention with love, and she doesn't test him just to measure his commitment. She knows that every distraction has a cost, and in his world, that cost can mean delayed progress, missed opportunities, or weakened execution. For a Sigma male, this is invaluable. It means he can trust that the woman beside him won't sabotage his momentum, whether deliberately or out of carelessness. Instead, she becomes a guardian of his mental space, keeping it clear, sharp, and ready for the things that truly matter. And when she does need his attention, he knows it's for something real, something that deserves the weight of his focus. That mutual respect turns their connection into an alliance, not just a romance. Number 8. Her loyalty won't depend on your mood. For a Sigma male, silence isn't a warning sign. It's a form of breathing. He doesn't always communicate on a schedule, and he doesn't fill every space with words just to keep things comfortable. The right woman understands this without panicking or taking it personally. Her loyalty doesn't waver just because he retreats into his own head for a while. She knows his quiet isn't distance in the emotional sense. It's him recharging, processing, and sharpening his focus. This is where many relationships break down. Some partners interpret silence as a loss of interest, or a sign that something is wrong, and they start poking, prodding, or creating tension to force interaction. The woman who truly fits him doesn't do that. She doesn't flinch when he goes days without calling just to check in with shallow small talk. She trusts the bond enough to let it breathe. Her loyalty comes from a deeper place, from knowing the difference between absence and abandonment. She understands that just because he isn't speaking doesn't mean he isn't thinking of her, valuing her, or feeling connected. In fact, she realizes that his silence can be one of the most intimate things he offers, because it means he's comfortable enough to be fully himself around her without the pressure to perform. This doesn't make her passive or uninvolved. She still shows up, still keeps the line open, but she does it without turning his quiet into a crisis. And when he returns from those periods of solitude, the relationship hasn't weakened, it's stronger, because she's given him the space to return with clarity and presence. For a Sigma male, this kind of loyalty is rare and priceless. It means he can move through his natural cycles of intensity and withdrawal without fearing emotional punishment. She stands steady, not because she's blind to his patterns, but because she understands them. And in a world full of people who panic at stillness, she's the one who knows that sometimes silence is the loudest way he says, "I'm still here." Number 9. She'll understand that distance doesn't mean doubt. The right woman for a Sigma male knows that his need for distance isn't a sign of fading feelings. It's a sign of how he sustains them. She understands that solitude is part of his operating system, not a warning flag that something is wrong. When he disappears for a while, it's not because he's questioning the relationship or looking for an exit. It's because he's recharging, recalibrating, and making sure he returns as his best self. For many people, distance in a relationship triggers suspicion. They start imagining betrayal, disinterest, or emotional withdrawal. But she doesn't let her mind run into those traps because she knows his patterns. She understands that his moments of retreat are not escapes from her. They are escapes from the noise of the world. She doesn't take it personally because she's confident in the connection they've built. This confidence makes their bond stronger instead of weaker. He doesn't have to burn energy explaining his every move or reassuring her every few hours. And when he does return, it's not to a tense interrogation, but to someone who's been holding the space steady in his absence. That stability makes him more willing to open up, because he knows she's not going to weaponize his need for space. Her trust allows him to navigate life without the constant weight of managing her emotions on top of his own. And because she gives him that freedom, he's far more present and engaged when they are together. It's not forced presence. It's presence by choice, and that's worth more than constant availability. For a Sigma male, this is a rare gift. In a world where distance is often misread as rejection, she's the one who understands it as part of his rhythm. She knows that when he steps away, it's not the beginning of the end. It's the maintenance of something that can last. And because she trusts that truth, he trusts her even more. Number 10. She won't try to heal you like a project. The right woman for a Sigma male doesn't approach him like a fixer-upper. She's not drawn in by the fantasy of repairing him or molding him into some softer, more socially acceptable version of himself. She understands that his scars, whether they're from battles he's fought in life, mistakes he's made, or betrayals he's endured, aren't signs of damage to be erased. They're part of the weaponry that makes him who he is. Too many people mistake resilience for something that needs to be healed until it looks harmless. But a Sigma male's scars are not there to be polished away. They are proof of survival, experience, and wisdom hard-earned. She doesn't want to sand them down because she knows doing so would strip away the very strength that allows him to lead, protect, and stay unwavering under pressure. Her love isn't conditional on him becoming easier to handle. She accepts that his edges, his intensity, and even his moments of guarded silence are part of the package. Where others might see emotional walls as a problem, she sees them as fortifications built for a reason, and she respects why they exist. She doesn't take offense to his boundaries. She values them because they mean his trust, when given, is rare and real. She's not passive in his life, but she's also not invasive. She's there to walk beside him, not dissect him. Her presence doesn't demand he relive every wound for her approval or closure. Instead, she trusts that those scars already tell her enough about the battles he's won, and that they've equipped him with the mindset and grit that make him unstoppable. For a Sigma male, this is the kind of acceptance that feels like freedom. He doesn't have to brace himself for someone trying to chip away at his nature under the guise of helping. She loves him as the complete arsenal he is, not as a project to work on. And in doing so, she proves that she's not here to tame his strength. She's here to respect it, stand with it, and if needed, fight alongside it. Number 11. She won't make you feel watched, only witnessed. The right woman for a Sigma male doesn't make him feel like he's under constant surveillance. She's not mentally scoring his every move, waiting for a slip-up, or silently comparing him to some invisible checklist. Her presence doesn't carry the weight of judgment. It carries the warmth of recognition. She sees him as he is, without trying to decode him like a puzzle that needs solving. For a Sigma male, this difference is everything. Many relationships slowly turn into performance arenas, where one partner feels they have to constantly prove themselves under the other's watchful eye. But with her, there's no performance. He doesn't have to adjust his words, filter his thoughts, or play to an audience. He can speak with blunt honesty or sit in complete silence, and she'll still understand him. Her gaze doesn't say, "I'm keeping track." It says, "I see you." She notices the details others overlook, the way he chooses his battles, the quiet discipline behind his decisions, the subtle shifts in his energy when he's deep in thought. She doesn't misinterpret his stillness as distance, nor does she mistake his directness for coldness. She reads the layers without turning them into accusations. This kind of witnessing is rare because it requires self-assurance on her part. She's not looking for faults to confirm her insecurities, and she's not projecting her own fears onto him. Instead, she's present enough to truly observe, letting him exist without interruption. That's why, in her presence, he feels no pressure to hide his flaws or downplay his strengths. She takes in both with the same steady acceptance. For a Sigma male, being truly witnessed is powerful. It means he can live without the constant drain of defending himself or proving his worth. And in that freedom, he doesn't just feel understood. He feels trusted. That trust turns her gaze into something more than attention. It becomes a space where he can exist fully without armor, knowing he's not being judged, only recognized for exactly who he is. Number 12, she'll speak in solutions, not ultimatums. The right woman for a Sigma male doesn't corner him with ultimatums or emotional standoffs. She knows he's not wired to respond well to do this or else. That kind of pressure isn't just unproductive. It's the fastest way to make him shut down and pull away. Instead, she speaks in solutions. If something's off, she doesn't waste time in endless circular arguments that go nowhere. She comes to the table with clarity, perspective, and a path forward. For her, conflict isn't about winning or proving who's right. It's about fixing what's broken so they can keep moving. She understands that a Sigma male values progress over theatrics. If the energy isn't moving toward resolution, it's energy wasted. That's why she frames problems in terms of possibilities, not threats. She might say, here's what's not working, and here's how we can change it, rather than, if you don't do this, I'm done. This approach isn't about letting him have his way every time. It's about creating space for actual collaboration. She knows he thinks in terms of strategy, not sentiment alone, so she meets him there. Even in emotionally charged situations, she can separate the heat of the moment from the outcome they both want. That ability makes her rare because it means disagreements turn into problem-solving sessions instead of battles of ego. For a Sigma male, this is a game changer. He doesn't have to brace himself for manipulative threats or constant emotional turbulence. He can trust that she'll voice her concerns without turning them into traps. That trust builds a stronger bond, because he knows that when challenges come, and they will, they'll tackle them as a team instead of as opponents. In the end, she understands something most people miss. Forward motion is the lifeblood of a Sigma male. If love becomes a battlefield where every disagreement stalls into a cold war, it dies. But with her, the current always keeps flowing. Even in conflict, they're moving towards something better, and that's why he'll fight to keep her by his side. Real love for a Sigma male isn't about romance in the way the world tries to package it. It's about alignment, respect, and power shared between two people who both have a mission. The right woman doesn't clip his wings, and she doesn't try to redesign his path to suit her comfort. She sharpens him. She fuels his focus. She protects his mental space like it's gold. And when the time comes, she can lead as effortlessly as she can follow, because she understands the mission is bigger than either of them individually. Every point we've covered leads back to one truth. For a Sigma male, love is never about distraction. It's about acceleration. The right woman doesn't compete with his purpose. She becomes part of it. She doesn't need him to perform his feelings in public or prove himself through constant validation because she already knows where she stands. She can move beside him without losing herself, match his energy without copying him, and stay loyal even when his silence stretches for days. This kind of connection is rare, which is why it's so valuable. It's not loud, it's not flashy, and it doesn't need the world's approval. But in private, where the real work, real trust, and real intimacy happen, it's unshakable. For a Sigma male, that's not just love. That's an alliance. That's the kind of bond that makes both people more dangerous to anything that stands in their way. If this resonated with you, don't just move on. Subscribe for more raw, no-fluff truths about the Sigma mindset. Hit that like button if you value depth over cliches, and drop a comment to share your thoughts. Share this with someone who needs to understand that for a Sigma male, real love doesn't pull you away from your mission. It makes the mission unstoppable. If you found this powerful and you're ready for more unfiltered Sigma truths, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you never miss the next one. Hit that like button if you value depth over cliches. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read them all. And share this video with someone who needs to understand what real love for a Sigma male actually looks like.